You know, every victim of these romance confidence scams, or pig butchering as is known, has a story to tell. Whether it was a father, mother, brother, sister, son, or daughter, they were all yearning for the same: to trust someone, find love, and a companion. According to FBI estimates from last year, 2023, pig butchering scams stole nearly $4 billion from tens and thousands of American victims. That is about 53% increase from the year before. And California alone experienced more than $1.1 billion in losses from the cybercurrency scams, according to the same report by FBI. And these types of scams are in the business of trafficking the trust, hopes, and dreams of people for financial gain, and in turn, devastate individuals and families. Simply put, these scams are one of the purest forms of evil. It seems that most of these scams are run by transnational criminal organizations out of Southeast Asia with ties to Chinese criminal organizations. So in your view, I would like to pose this question to Mr. Rembrandt, and any one of you can please chime in. Has the People's Republic of China, its government, done enough to crack down on these criminals? And can you, Mr. Rembrandt, talk about any engagement with countries like Cambodia, Laos, Thailand to help us in our fight against pig butchering, and are they doing enough to help us?
Thank you, Congresswoman, for the question. Every 2 years, our office works across the interagency to publish something called the National Money Laundering Risk Assessment, a consolidated view of money laundering risks, threats, vulnerabilities that our nation faces. In the last 2 iterations, Chinese money laundering organizations have appeared front and center in the global go-to professional money laundering organizations to launder funds, given how quickly, efficiently, effectively, and cheaply they're able to do it. As it relates to human trafficking and online scam centers and the hundreds of thousands of people that are trafficked and then forced to work at these places, Chinese transnational organized crime has played and continues to play a role in these scams. In terms of specific jurisdictions, China has cracked down over the last couple of years dramatically on online scams since their citizens were one of the largest victims of online scams. They've worked with Myanmar, it would appear, law enforcement to repatriate tens of thousands of Chinese nationals that were forced to work at these scams. And I think the lessons are, one, from China has probably put a lot of pressure on these jurisdictions to make sure this stops ripping off their nationals, and I think we could learn something from that. As it relates to the other jurisdictions on Cambodia, I spoke to my counterparts on Monday following OFAC's designation and demanding they take action. As it relates to investigations, prosecutions, and asset forfeiture related to this. Yeah. In addition, Vietnam is currently has something called an action plan with the Financial Action Task Force to improve its AML-CT regime. Improvements on its virtual assets regulation supervision is essential to that, and we've had discussions with them on how we can improve potential technical assistance to Vietnamese to help them. So I think it's very country-specific. Myanmar is probably the most challenging given some of their governance, law enforcement, and other challenges right now in the jurisdiction, but they're also subject to the Financial Action Task Force.
Thank you. I'm glad that you also mentioned the Financial Action Task Force and the work that you are doing to cooperate in that regard. But I want to ask a question to Ms. West. I want to thank you for your work to crack down on pig butchering and your efforts to recover funds from the stolen funds from the victims. So can you elaborate on why it's easier to recover money when it's transferred to crypto exchanges than using other types of assets like cash? And does it make tracking down funds easier when they use digital assets? And if you can elaborate.
Right, thank you for your question. What I will say is when you look at those statistics that you pointed out, I, like you, am a Californian, and when I look at those statistics and see that our state is getting hit over twice as hard as the next nearest state, we have good reason to be concerned. Further, I'm very familiar with some of the activity going on in your particular county, and it's a massive problem in Orange County, and so I'm glad you're taking an interest today. I think what we need to think about is that this is an extraordinary international problem that requires international cooperation. And I think that the United States should be a leader in trying to drive that cooperation and not sitting back and waiting for someone else to do it. We've got a massive catastrophe happening in Southeast Asia, and we need to take some leadership, and we need to start figuring out a better way to be applying pressure and getting and building community that'll work together on this.
Thank you. I yield back.